My name's Christian Hacking and this is the Abortion News Update with CBR UK. Top stories this week. France to raise abortion law from 12 to 14 weeks. Manchester have introduced the third national buffer zone around abortion clinics. And finally, DIY home abortion backlash building. But firstly, across the channel to France. Now, abortion figures in France are the highest on record, and yet legislators want to make it even easier. In France, as in the UK, a quarter of all babies are killed in the womb each year at the hands of the abortion industry, and yet, far from trying to lower these figures, French legislators are seeking to catalyse the killing. Now, two bits of legislation that have come before the French Assembly in recent months prove this. Firstly, in July, an amendment to their abortion law was voted in at 4 a.m, whilst most representatives were asleep or on holiday or both, permitting abortion up till birth if the mother is deemed to be showing signs of psychosocial distress. Now, this definition is so broad that it allows for abortion on demand up till birth if a mother appears distressed. And then, on Thursday the 8th of October, another amendment seeking to raise the voluntary termination limit from 12 to 14 weeks passed 102 votes to 65 at first reading. Now, the amendment also includes limits on conscientious objection and permits midwives to perform abortions up to 10 weeks. Speaking out against this, the president of the National College of French Gynecologists and Obstetricians, Professor Israel Nissad, brutally points out what the 2-week difference will mean for the baby, the mother, and the clinician. He states, and I quote, "The head of the fetus is ossified by 12 weeks and must be crushed. The gesture itself is therefore terrible for the person doing it and for the patient." End quote. No mention of the baby, though. Turns out liberté, fraternity and equality apply only to the big, the strong and the visible in France. Now, next up, I warned of this last week, but it has finally happened. Manchester City Council have introduced a buffer zone around their Fallowfields and Winstay abortion facilities. Now, they claim that the Public Space Protection Order, or PSPO, was necessary in order to prevent harassment and intimidation, despite the fact that there is clearly no evidence for such allegations. And on the contrary, there's a lot of evidence that shows that sidewalk counsellors save lives and help mothers. For the last few years, the Good Counsel Network have published long lists of babies' names and birth weights from all the mothers that they've been able to help outside of clinics. Since 2011, they have helped over 1,000 women in London at 3 sites. And yet, counsellors couldn't give a monkeys about this, because this isn't about women actually being given choices. No, this is about responding to whoever shouts loudest and protecting abortion business. And business this is. According to my calculations, the Fallowfields Clinic alone took 2.78 million in sales in 2019 from killing unborn children, 200 of which were beyond 20 weeks gestation. Yet, put this fact on an A3 piece of paper and stand near to that clinic silently, and you could get yourself an £1,000 fine or worse. Now, these PSPOs last 3 years before the consultation process begins again, and this is why MP Ruba Huck is trying to circumnavigate this process with a nationwide ban, with 6-month prison sentences for those who break it, and a hilarious prohibition on sketching. This said, not all clinics have these barbarous free speech sanctions yet, and pro-life groups continue their vigils outside of clinics as close as the law allows. 40 Days for Life is still ongoing. And finally, DIY home abortion backlash is building. So I keep rabbiting on about this. In March, the government made this unprecedented decision without a vote to allow for abortions over the phone. And since that date, 45,000 babies have been killed without any face-to-face consultation or clear establishment of gestational age. Now, we always knew that this was going to be a slow-motion train crash, and we have watched with sadness as a slow trickle of fatalities and horror stories have come to light. Well, this week, 2 things have happened to take things in a slightly better direction. Firstly, the Department of Health in Northern Ireland stated DIY home abortions place women at, I quote, risk and should be, I quote, properly delivered through direct medical supervision. And secondly, back in England, a mother of a bereaved mother who lost her child by abortion at 5 weeks is considering legal action against Mary Stopes, having felt rushed through the process and having experienced severe complications. The Christian Legal Centre are supporting her through this process. Do read more information below. Now, nothing will bring her child back, but if enough people sue abortion providers, then future generations of children may be spared their money-making killing procedures. I hope this woman encourages more to come forward and do likewise. That's your news update with me, Christian Hacking. Do like, share, subscribe and donate to our life-saving work, and I will see you next week. A bunch of links relating to today's content have been stuck below. Do feel free to check them out.